It's the summertime, my friends. Get out your water shooters, your frozen Danimals crush cups, your ice pops, your Capri Suns. I don't know. Grips. Y'all remember Grips? Yeah, that's J. Cole's favorite snack. Nah, but for real though, for many people, this is the best time of the year. It's warm outside. You get to go to the beach. You know what it is, man. Ironically, to celebrate this stellar time of the year, I'm going to make a YouTube video, which requires me to be indoors, away from the sun. But it's a summer theme episode of a TV show, so it's okay. Big Time Rush is one of my favorite Nickelodeon shows. I've been a fan of it since it came out. Interesting enough, in August, I actually plan on going to a Big Time Rush concert with some friends, so y'all know I'm still rocking with the group. I generally shy away from doing seasonal YouTube videos since I don't believe that they have great rewatch value, but I knew I wanted to talk about Big Time Rush at some point on my channel, so I might as well do it now. One of the strongest episodes of the show from my memory is the Big Beach Special, where all the characters have these mini side adventures all on the same beach. So that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. My name is My name is Mr. Nostalgia, and today we will be talking about the Big Time Rush summer event episode that for whatever reason aired in the dead of winter, Big Time Beach Party.
Tonight, get ready to party in paradise. Big Time Beach Party, the brand new movie premieres tonight at 8. Now back to the show.
As stated before, the Big Time Rush episode entitled Big Time Beach Party, for whatever reason, aired on February 21st, 2011. And although this special was advertised as a movie, it's really just a special, or an event episode, or a special event episode. That works. There is actually a difference between the two. For instance, iCarly's I Start a Fan War is a special, whereas I Go to Japan is a legitimate TV movie. It was a length of 3 iCarly episodes. But semantics aside, Big Time Beach Party definitely is not your average BTR episode. The budget was most definitely higher, and like a lot of event episodes or specials, we got ourselves a couple guest stars as well. BTR is no stranger to event episodes though. They've had a few, and usually they always go all out with them, more so than any other Nickelodeon show. It's honestly impressive. I'm going to assume that you guys have somewhat of an understanding of Big Time Rush, but for the few that don't, 4 friends become a boy band and make music together. Yeah, also it's made by the same guy who did Nes Declassified, if that helps. Without any further ado, let's get into the actual episode. The episode starts off with the band reminding Griffin, aka the head of Rock Records, about a deal they made off camera. The deal entails that if BTR were to secure a #1 record, the band and their friends would be able to use Griffin's Malibu beach house for the day. And considering they did in fact get a #1 record, the boys ask Griffin if he will hold up his end of the bargain. Despite the fact that they only went #1 in the fictional country of Kerplankistan, Griffin agrees to let the boys use his house, but only under a couple conditions. 1, they can't go anywhere near his vase collection, and 2, they can't even look at his car collection. The boys agree to those terms, and they begin daydreaming about all of the beach activities that they can do. This takes us right into the intro, which I gotta say, this might be the best Nickelodeon sitcom theme song, and truthfully, there aren't many bad ones. iCarly's slaps, Victorious' slaps, Kenan and Kel slaps. Yeah, you know what? I might have to give it to Kenan and Kel in retrospect. I mean, that one had Coolio, bruh. You gotta respect that. BTR is a close second, though. When we return from the intro, we see the boys outside with their friends getting ready to go to the beach. And this shot of all the characters kind of reminded me about how BTR has one of the strongest and best supporting casts of any kid show. Besides that one Ken doll looking dude who fortunately isn't even in this episode, I genuinely like all of the side characters. One of my favorite side characters is Jo, who unfortunately due to her commitment to the TV show she films, won't be able to make it to the beach with Kendall and everyone else. She can, however, go after she's done with the reshoots, so that's what she plans on doing. Meanwhile, in the... there's like 4 or 5 different plots in this episode. Let's call this one the D plot, since it's the only one that gets resolved in the middle of the episode. In the D plot, Kendall's mom finds out the boys didn't take sunscreen with them, so she does the most mom thing possible and decides that she will go to the beach herself, if it means making sure the boys are protected from the sun. Katie, on the other hand, wants to use this opportunity to meet up with a celebrity so she can convince them to make her their manager. Katie really is like a nicer version of Megan. She still be doing schemes every now and then, but generally it's just so she can make a few bucks. She's not actually trying to hurt anyone. They are 2 very different characters, but considering Katie is more than just a one-trick pony, I do kind of prefer her. Megan definitely had better lines though.
You can go on your dates after the three of you finish rebuilding Robbie's treehouse.
Whoa, whoa. By the three of us, I hope you mean Drake, Josh, and Josh's imaginary friend.
Hey!
Meanwhile, in the F plot, yes, I'm being serious, Gustavo and Kelly fear that BTR will get too attached to the beach life, like the other Rock Records boy band called Boy Blast. So they come up with a plan to ruin their beach day. Spoiler alert, they fail at it. Now I don't have to cover this plot again. Back to the main plot, BTR and their many, many friends arrive at the beach house. And I gotta say, this is a really nice location to film. One of the advantages to having a single camera show is being able to do stuff like this. Zoe 101 also had a beach episode, and just like this one, it also looked great. Funny enough, they actually filmed this episode in December 2010, apparently, but when you film in LA, that's just the kind of stuff that you get to do. I'd believe you if you said this was like in July or something. The gang starts to lose their minds over finally being at the beach. That is, everyone except Kendall, who's bummed out over not being able to spend his time with Joe. He runs into this old guy who lives in the area named JD. Fun fact, apparently this dude is actually Chris Pine's dad. Who would have thought? He explained to Kendall that all the great beach movies filled with all the great beach movie cliches were filmed here. So he should expect some of that magic, so to speak, to rub off on his adventures today. Which is a nice little fourth wall break that the show would do every now and then. He says the only thing Kendall is missing to make this a real beach movie adventure is a beach babe. And what do you know? One pulls up right next to him. Turns out this girl is a super fan of BTR, especially Kendall. I said Kendall, that's crazy. Especially Kendall. So the rest of Kendall's subplot is about him dealing with a fangirl whose name is Sandy. The B plot, on the other hand, is centered around Logan and Carlos, who are on a hunt to find money on the beach. Logan wants it to pay for his med school, whereas Carlos wants to use it to buy a beach house. You'd think Logan's mom would be like, taking money aside from their music and world tours in order to help pay for his med school, but sure, beach money works too. In the C plot, James wipes out after attempting to surf on a wave. And waking him up is a new mystery girl named Annie, who is played by our first guest star, or second if you want to count Chris Pine's dad, Gage Golightly. If she looks familiar, you might know her from the Nickelodeon series The Troop, in which she played Haley. She was also in True Jackson VP, where she played a character named Vanessa. And she was in Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, where she played a character named Vanessa. What worries James, though, is that right when she was about to tell him her name, she makes the dolphin noise. Remember that. Anyway, back to the B plot. Logan and Carlos think they come across something valuable, only for them to realize that instead, you know what? For those who don't remember this episode, I'm gonna play the clip so your jaw can drop onto the floor.
It's a giant silver earring! This thing must be worth like... beach now! Real pirates! Not just any pirate, Patty the pirate!
Yup. Patchy the Pirate from SpongeBob is just casually in this episode. I remember in 2018 I went on this thing where I would rewatch episodes of Big Time Rush, and I actually went through the entire show. And when I got to this episode, I was amazed because I had completely forgotten about the subplot. Like, I remember the episode, but I don't remember this character appearing in it. This is why I like the world of shows like Big Time Rush, because although they can be over the top sometimes, they're also the only kind of shows that can do stuff like this and make it work. We got a whole SpongeBob crossover right now, and although it feels just a tad weird, it's not completely out of place. This does create an interesting paradox though. In SpongeBob, Patchy the Pirate is someone that appears in segments that seemingly take place in our world, meaning SpongeBob is a fictional character, not a real person, considering Patchy is a fan of him. This would mean that in the BTR universe, SpongeBob likely exists as a cartoon, but considering Patchy appears in episodes of SpongeBob, well, then what? Now yeah, technically you could say that in BTR world, the Patchy segments simply don't air with the episode, which is something I'm willing to go with. However, all of this falls apart when we remember that in the 20th anniversary episode of SpongeBob, Patchy meets SpongeBob, and they hug. So now I don't know what to think. Fortunately, this isn't that kind of video though, so I don't need to figure it out, but it is interesting nonetheless. I really want to know what possessed Nick to do this crossover, man. It's so bizarre. Patchy says he's there to dig up the buried treasure of his great-grandfather, Scratchy the Pirate. So the boys tag along with him on his voyage. Why not? And back to the A plot, Kendall is still dealing with Sandy, the crazy beach babe.
Really?
My Boyfriend is my favorite song. It's playing in my head right now.
Cool.
Why did she turn her head like that, bruh? Turn it any fashion, she gonna end up like Gwen Stacy. That's crazy. I'm sorry. That was That was uncalled for. Kendall tries to walk away from her and towards the beach house, but as he's making his way there, his mom stops him and attempts to spray some suntan lotion on him.
Cool to see you at the... Oh no!
Oh, you can run, but you can't hide! Kendall, Donald, Nate!
Kendall makes his way to the beach house and whoa, how did she get there so fast?
I broke up with my boyfriend, so we can go out.
You're watching Big Time Rush. We'll be right back. You're watching Big Time Rush on Nick. Now back to the show.
Things take a turn for the worse when we come back from commercial break, as it's revealed that Sandy posted the picture she took of her and Kendall online. And of course, this managed to get back to Joe, who, in case you forgot, is filming her TV show. Kendall tries to explain things to her, but Sandy takes the phone, hangs up on Joe, and then chucks it into a pool. That's insane. Meanwhile, in the, what is it, C-plot? Yeah, James gets to know Annie, but because of a few interesting interactions with her, such as her saying she practically grew up in the water, and the fact that she eats raw clams, this idiot James starts to believe that she's a mermaid. So he kidnaps Camille, who I completely forgot was in the show, and asks her for her thoughts on the situation. You're playing a dangerous game here, James. It wasn't all that long ago when you and Camille accidentally kissed. And you better watch out before Logan almost punches you again. Issue is, Camille is kinda insane, so naturally she believes that it is definitely possible that Annie's a mermaid. This is the one thing about BTR that annoys me a bit. Like, sometimes these characters are legitimately stupid. Like, dangerously stupid. Like, even earlier, remember that old dude? Yeah, well, in the beginning of the episode, he told Kendall it was actually him, but from the future. And Kendall actually believed him for a split second. You ever see that scene from Community where Troy almost runs into a wall because for a split second he believed it was a portal to another dimension? That's basically almost everyone in Big Time Rush. Sometimes it's funny, but other times it's a bit ridiculous. And this is one of those times. Meanwhile, in the F plot, I think, Katie goes up to the nearest celebrity house, who just so happens to be, oh, phew. I thought it was Jared Leto at first, but nah, it's just Russell Brand. Oh wait, yeah, so this didn't particularly age well. Katie, you better stay away from him and keep the family away. To sum this part up, so I don't have to keep going back to it, Russell eventually lets Katie manage him. There we go. Okay, back to the A plot. Kendall enlists the Jennifers to help him make Sandy believe that he's a player and doesn't want to be tied down to one girl. Hey, y'all ever realize that they completely recast the blonde Jennifer from like season 1? She is a completely different person by the time season 2 starts. I kind of like the OG one more, I'm not gonna lie. This one just kind of looks like Angelica's mom from Rugrats. Kendall tries things out with the Jennifers, but Sandy realizes this isn't real and he's just trying to make her jealous. So this girl whips out her phone, takes a pic of Kendall with the Jennifers, and sends it to Joe's Scuttlebutter, which is a social media app apparently. So Joe calls blonde Jennifer to ask what's going on, and right as Kendall tries to explain it, Sandy chucks the phone again. This girl is crazy, bruh. We then cut to a nice little montage scene / music video set to the band song Boyfriend. And throughout the montage, we see advances being made on the main 3 plots. Kendall is trying to hide from Sandy, James is trying to splash water on Annie since according to Camille, that's one way to force her mermaid self to appear, and Patchy and the boys realize that they're getting closer to finding their treasure. I actually really like this montage, not just because Boyfriend is one of my favorite BTR songs. It's silly, it's goofy, but most importantly, it's fun, as has been most of this special. The fun gets interrupted though by Mama Knight, who successfully is able to spray suntan lotion all over the boys using water guns. I know this is a kid's TV show, but I can't help but point out how bad the parenting is here on Mama Knight's part. Like, she's just letting her 10-year-old daughter walk around to different celebrities' houses. You know how many creeps there are in Hollywood? Like, imagine she just stumbles across Drake's house or something. We'd never see her again. Jokes aside, Mrs. Knight really is a good mom, though. One of Nick's best. As if the party couldn't get any more pooped, Chris Pine's dad runs up to Kendall and reminds him of something he said earlier. When his character is first introduced, he starts listing a bunch of different beach movie cliches, all of which ended up actually happening in this episode. However, at the time, he couldn't quite remember the last one. Well, he remembers now, and he tells Kendall what it is.
A bad guy always shows up halfway through the movie to beat you up.
What? You're the dead man who stole my Sandy. Prepare to get pummeled!
I told you it was a magical beach.
To make this situation even worse for Kendall, Sandy pulls up right next to him and gives him a really tight hug, claiming that they are in love. Tad, which is a horrible name by the way, swears that he will get his revenge on Kendall for stealing his girl. In the B or C plot, I don't really remember at this point, Carlos, Logan, and Patchy realize that the beach house was built on top of the treasure, so the only way to get to it is by digging. A lot. Realizing they can't just start digging in the middle of the beach house living area, they instead go to the basement since they're under the assumption that Griffin won't care. They quickly realize they were wrong though, as his basement is where his priceless vase collection is stored. Carlos manages to convince Logan that even if they break some vases while trying to get the treasure, it won't matter since they can just buy and replace them once they get to the riches. Because of this, Carlos not so cautiously uses a jackhammer to break into the ground, causing almost all of the priceless artifacts around him to break. That's not much of a concern for Carlos and Patchy though, because they finally were able to break into the ground and pull out the treasure chest that was underneath. They all get really excited at first, but the excitement mellows out once they realize the chest is locked. Fortunately for them, there's a cannon store nearby, so Patchy was able to purchase one to aid them in their operation. He lights the match, but the trio realize they've made a severe and continuous lapse in their adjustment, so they quickly try to blow out the candle. Unfortunately, they're too slow, and they blow a hole in one of Griffin's cars, which in case you forgot was one of the areas they were told to stay away from. They're pretty bummed that nothing has gone their way the past few hours. Patchy says it's strange that they were having such bad luck because he was carrying his lucky key with him. A key that was passed down from generation to generation. Common sense hits him and everyone else, so they use the key to unlock the treasure and voila! In it is loads and loads of priceless artifacts and metals. The gang starts to celebrate and list off things they're going to buy now that they're rich. However, this celebration gets cut short by Griffin claiming that he has surveillance cameras everywhere and he saw the whole thing. He says that he plans on using all of that to pay for his sports car and vase collection, and yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Honestly though, I was surprised to see that there was actually treasure in there. I thought for sure it would be a misdirection. And then because of the damage that Carlos and Logan did to his car and vase collection, Griffin would just make them pick up extra jobs in the studio or something to help pay off their debt. Even if it took decades, I don't know. I feel like I kind of like my solution better, but this subplot wrapped up pretty well. In the C plot, James is still of the mindset that Annie is a mermaid. However, he still really likes her, so he does his best to adapt to living an aquatic lifestyle to appease her. But ultimately, he realizes that he cannot give up cheeseburgers for raw clams. So, Camille gives James advice on how to end things with her in a respectful way and warns him to not get caught up in the moment and kiss her. And yes, she is totally talking from experience. James goes down there and tries to end things with Annie, claiming that although they're from two different worlds, he will never forget her. Annie, rightfully so, is confused by this because she thought things were going well, so she leans in and kisses him, hoping that would change his mind. Instead, it just kind of makes him do the cramp from that one episode of SpongeBob.
Tommy, I've got a fresh loaded lot. Tommy!
This plot is kind of ridiculous, ain't it? Camille asks Annie if she's a mermaid and, well, she says no because they don't exist. James gets up and asks for clarification about some of the things she said and did earlier that made him think that she's a mermaid. And she responds by saying that she was raised around water because she's been swimming professionally since she was 3, and she ate the clam because it's a trick her dad, who runs a restaurant called the Ocean Floor, showed her. Thing is though, that doesn't really explain the dolphin noise from earlier in the episode. Did she just try to speak, but then some dummy loud dolphin from the ocean coincidentally started talking at the same time? But even then, look at the guitar dude's reaction. It makes it seem like the noise came directly from her. I know I'm stupid, especially after recent events, but I'm not missing something, right? Anyway, they get back together, even though if I was her, I wouldn't want to date someone who thought mermaids were real, but whatever. It's time we finally wrap up the biggest and best plot of the entire special, the A plot. JD suggests to Kendall and Tad that the only way to settle this is a drag race. If Kendall wins, Tad and his crew have to leave the beach forever. But if Tad wins, Kendall and his crew have to do that same thing. Even though he's hesitant at first, Kendall agrees, and the race is officially happening. Also, Gustavo dies.
High five!
Tad sets the ground rules for the drag race, including location and time, and Kendall has 1 hour to prepare. Only issue is, he's never ridden an ATV before, So he's really just gonna have to do this with no experience, just vibes. That's tough. Fortunately for him though, Guitar Dude went around to the other subplots and gathered up Kendall's friends to support him. And he gets in the middle and serves as a flag girl. She then takes off her hair ribbon thing and throws it on the ground, signifying that the race has commenced. Immediately, things aren't looking good for Kendall as he has no idea how to start the ATV. He finally gets it going though and trails behind Tad. And at one point, presumably through the power of friendship, Kendall takes the lead. He starts to lose his lead though, and after Tad pushes him out of bounds, which is a very Zaza Pachulia thing to do by the way, Kendall does the impossible. Yeah, y'all hear that needle drop though? That was perfect. Hold on, let's run that back. Ah, that was tough. That was tough. Kendall miraculously gets the W and all of his friends celebrate with him. He then hits Tad with a Damian Lillard, and when Sandy goes up to him to try to talk, Kendall immediately denies her, claiming that Joe is the only girl he needs. And as it turns out, Camille was on the phone with her the entire time, and she heard everything. Yeah, W, Kendall. Look how happy he is. Yeah, just wait until she moves to another country and leaves you behind, bruh. And then you have to bust out worldwide. Enjoy it while it lasts, brother. Anyway, the episode wraps up with the band performing at Russell Brand's beach party, covering Dance, Dance, Dance by the Beach Boys. I have no idea how much of that I was actually able to play because of copyright, so if it ends abruptly, don't blame me. Although, they never officially did release this cover, so, you know what, let's turn it back up. Yeah, no, Katie, don't touch him.
Nick. Nickelodeon. Nice. That's nice.
Man, oh man, now this is an event episode. High stakes, check. Taking place at an entirely different location, check. Guest stars, check. I mean, there are 2 of them, bruh. 3 if you count Patchy the Pirate. They really went all out for this episode. I don't have many complaints. Let's talk about the story for a second. The episode had a bunch of different stuff going on at the same time, and although not all of these stories were great, I felt like they handled them all pretty well in terms of pacing and timing. It didn't feel like a bloated episode. Every character was adding something to it. The stories themselves, though, like I said, were not all great. The Kendall one was solid, and it was definitely the best of the episode. Plus, it had that epic conclusion that was much so needed to top off an episode like this one. The most random subplot was the Patchy the Pirate one, but even then, it wasn't bad. I think we needed a fun, silly plot that was nonsensical to, I guess, relax on. The plot that I felt was really dumb, though, was the James one. It started off fine, but eventually it reached a point of ridiculousness that felt out of place, even for this show. And overall, it was just kind of painful to watch. I mean, come on. And then as for the minor plots, the mom subplot with the sunblock was pretty fun. That's a bar, hold on. The mom subplot with the sunblock was pretty fun. The Katie one with Russell Brand was mid, and the Gustavo one was, I don't know, passable, I guess. On their own, they may not be strong plots, but together, they did create a pretty epic beach special. The new characters they added were pretty cool too, not gonna lie. I actually thought Sandy was kind of funny. Tad too. And I mean, Patchy the Pirate was of course great to see. What an unexpected appearance. Annie was fine, didn't really need to do much, but she served her purpose for her respective plot, and that's all you can ask. Also, shout out JD, man, what a legend. And I mean, ending it with the Beach Boys cover? Stop it. Genius. Pure genius. This episode is a classic. Nickelodeon fumbled the bag for not dropping this during the summer. This would have been perfect. One of the best episodes of one of Nick's best sitcoms. This episode for me gets an 8.5 out of 10. Made me feel like a teenager again. Even though my teen life wasn't nearly as exciting as this. I mainly stayed home and watched Hanna-Barbera cartoons. But hey, I still had fun. What I want to know is, what did you think of this episode of Big Time Rush? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. And until next time, I'm Mr. Nostalgia. And I hope you guys have a good summer. Peace.